Over the last few months, we've been hearing and having a lot of conversations with clients, with potential clients, and with just people in the industry that contact rates are down. They're just not able to connect with the folks that are coming in, that are expressing interest, that are raising their hand, they're filling out the RFI. And this isn't just happening at one school. Although a number of months ago, there was one that came to us and said, hey, help us kind of figure this out, what's happening. It's also not one team, not one source. There's a lot of other factors there that we looked at. But there are schools that are seeing 10% or more of a degrade in contact rate. Usually, when that happens, you're looking at those factors. Is it lead quality? Do we need more advisors? Is our lead per reps numbers wrong? Did something change in marketing? Usually marketing's the first thing that you look at. Is it the quality of leads? But a lot of times, as we all know, that's usually not always, or even not ever, the answer. Today, I want to talk a little about what we're seeing, what you can do about it, and just some things to keep in mind. Welcome back to ROI University, podcast for higher ed marketers and leaders who want to change the game and themselves. I'm Rustam Irani, your host, a recovering engineer, former CMO in the higher ed space, and now we work with other higher ed professionals, enrollment leaders, and marketers. Three schools that I want to talk about, or specific examples. One's a regional player, another one is in the Northeast, and one's a pretty large national player. All three of these have come to us, and we've had conversations about contact rate challenges. Again, it is a wide swath, all the way from associate programs up through master's programs, as well as programmatically, it's across the board. It could be multiple different industries that we're talking about, health, psychology, just across the board. But there was one common factor there, that there were challenges with the folks that were coming in. They weren't able to contact them as effectively as they were historically. And so we analyzed data. We look back a year, 2 years, in some instances, even 3 years, to just look at patterns in contact rates to see what's happening, what's going on. And there were some interesting things that kind of came out of that. Now, in reality, you've got set KPIs that you're looking at. So again, when it comes to contact rate, it's your inquiries that are coming in, and of the inquiries that are coming in, how many of those are you actually able to connect with? So again, the questions we asked: is it the quality of the lead? Is the enrollment team staffing adequate, or are there issues there? Is it campus-based or online-based? And then also, is it a seasonal dip? We all know there's some level of seasonality in higher ed. But in actuality, something that we also uncovered that's happened and continuing to happen as we move forward with more and more AI agents getting involved in outbound dials. We're seeing that there's plenty of companies that are providing outbound AI agents to make outbound dials. And the other side of it is these platforms, the phone companies like Apple, Android, and Google, if you all have done any of the level of updates, especially if you're using an iOS device, you've seen that now you can actually filter people before they come in. And if you don't recognize that number, if it doesn't come in with a name of an institution, if it doesn't come in with that advertiser's name and you don't recognize it, you're going to ignore it. We saw a stat that nearly 1 in 4 adults aged 18 to 34 say that they never answer unexpected phone calls. So 25 right off the bat, if they're not recognizing it, are not going to answer it. 25% are not going to answer it. And so these are things that we absolutely need to consider outside of usually what we're looking at. So usually we see certain patterns that go back to lead quality, that go back to internal processes, that go back to these things. But now there are external factors that are in play because of a lot of these tools, because of the newer, younger generations that are experiencing different experiences and want different experiences, right? So here's a few things that we've started to kind of work with our partners on, make suggestions. These are just kind of like our playbook right now, but this is really the stuff that you should be looking at. One, if you're doing any outbound, are you communicating with them in other methods, right? What is your marketing automation process or student communications look like? Can you send them a text as well? So if they inquiry, basically send them a text message letting them know, hey, we'll be in touch with you. What does your thank you page experience look like? What do your emails look like? Those are touch points that if you're not buttoned up on that, then that prospect is just getting a cold call, and they don't have more context. And I believe that's what we're seeing is a lot of times now the context is so critical. You've got to continue to help that person understand where this message is coming from and from who it's coming from. There's so many more ads and emails and outbound dials now, as I said earlier, that the context is key. The second thing is you can try to respond quicker as well. So usually when that person is inquiring, they're in the moment. And when they're in the moment, that's usually the best time for them to still know who they engage with, the school they reached out to, or the brand they engaged with, and expect some level of interaction or an inbound call. So timing is definitely important. We say the sooner the better typically, but if you can get to them within the first few minutes, along with that communication that I mentioned, the texting, the email, those sort of things, you're going to get a better contact rate. You're going to have more context for that person to actually engage and pick up the call. Not to mention the basics of having not an unknown caller ID on your call log. So make sure you're looking at your telephony system and platform, and you've got appropriate phone numbers that you're using, that they have the right caller ID, that all of that. That's like the basics. That's like the blocking and tackling. But it's interesting that we've seen even some of that not really be in place properly. Then you want to take a look at, what's your follow-up experience that you're doing? Are you, again, creating that consistent messaging? Somebody's inquired about, let's just say it's a medical assistant program, and they've come. Are you giving them standard messaging, or are you catering it towards what career, what outcomes they're looking for, potentially why they even engage? Not only that, but on your landing pages, is that consistent? Are you consistently messaging effectively across those platforms? And again, that's branding, that's brand exposure, that's showing that you understand what they're inquiring about. And then even in your email and text messaging communications, that you are listening and that you're giving them the information that they want, they desire, they need, right? The other thing we've seen as well, and we've tested this with some clients, there's some really great tools out there that do this as well, is on your site, do you have a live chat bot? Do you have a live chat experience? Is it a live person that's communicating? Is it a bot? Can you engage with somebody outside of them just having two options, calling you or filling out a form? Those are also important things. I'm sure you've seen on any auto website you go to, or if you're looking to purchase a car or you go to any of these sites, I mean, the first thing that pops up on pretty much all of these sites now is the live chat. And to be quite frank, I've actually even received quotes and offers on cars and negotiated completely through live chat, which to me was a better experience than having somebody on the phone live. And so these are things that we need to consider as higher ed professionals and marketers and enrollment leaders. Like, we have to consider that there is no one size fits all. And now more than ever, it's becoming harder and harder for us to break through, engage in a way that somebody wants to be engaged with, which is absolute key. So if you're seeing some of these issues in your contact rates and you're getting all these inquiries, but you're just not able to get in touch with them, you need to have this full kind of 360 communication and marketing plan, and as well as having all of those other touch points that are consistent across the board. There are some external factors on the student side too that could be factoring in here, right? Again, as I mentioned, having constant notifications. I mean, we all get it now on our SMS, whether it's for voting, whether it's for loans, whether it's now I get tons about local landscapers or tree trimmers that want to come trim my tree that are in my local area. I literally get one a day now. I continue to block them because I haven't inquired at all about any of that. So there's a lot of noise out there. There's, and our prospects and our students that are coming in and engaging with us, they have a lot going on. So they are inquiring, they want a better path, they're looking for a career, they're looking for opportunities, they're looking for whatever it is, upskilling, etc. But at the core of it is that human that has family responsibilities, has financial pressures and obligations and considerations. So there's endless digital distractions there. And who knows, they could be at a job where they're inquiring about because they just had a terrible day. So, like, those are all things to consider when you're looking at the core KPI of contact rate. Because what you think it might be may not always be what you think it is. So, again, things that we need to consider as marketers is more than just like, why aren't they answering? We should be asking, like, how do they want to engage? What are those methods of engagement that will create the best experience for our prospects? And then maybe even instead of asking, how do we increase contact rates? Let's say it's 40% right now. We want to get it to 50%. That's where we were historically. Maybe we should be asking, how do we increase a meaningful engagement? How do we provide more value and a better experience that'll naturally potentially improve contact rates, or just get in front of the people or the people who are inquiring the right information? Those are key things that we should be asking. Those are things that we've worked through, which is working. And we are seeing lifts a bit in contact rates when we do have those types of programs in place. So, couple suggestions for this week. If you're listening, review your contact rates. Basically, it's lead inquiry to whatever that contact disposition you have, whether it's somebody actually getting on the phone or whatever it is that you have internally that you've been benchmarking. Review that. Take a look over the last year or so. Has it gone down? And then start looking at your communications. Audit your caller reputation, what's happening, maybe make some outbound your styles yourself and just see what's happening, or call yourself. You know, try texting as a part of that outbound. I don't know where it is currently on your roadmap, but see if you can add that in and see if that improves things. Lastly, definitely measure engagement across all the campaigns and start to evaluate responses and dispositions on your back end, what your admissions teams are saying. Those are the things that really will give you the insight that you need. So again, the real question is, are we measuring student intent, or are we just measuring answered phone calls? That's all for this class of ROI University, where the biggest ROI is personal.